Hi, this is Bruce Macaulay from Bald History, and in this series, Pop Years, we're going to look at a particular year in history, look at some of the key events in the world, what's happening also in music and entertainment, and find the big song of the year that really tells us something about the development of music and society. And in this episode, we're looking at 1965. An interesting year. Civil rights is a big issue in the US. We have the Watts riots in California, leaving 34 people dead. Dr. Martin Luther King leads the marches in Alabama, and Malcolm X is assassinated. Over in the UK, some health measures are being introduced. Cigarette advertising is banned on television, and also drink driving limits are introduced for the first time in 1965. Mary Quant designs the miniskirt, which will become the fashion statement of the 1960s. And in the world of movies, The Sound of Music is the big film of the year. Also, the book Dune is released, and science fiction will of course become an ever more popular genre in the ensuing decades. In the world of popular music itself, we have some great Motown and R&B songs out there. You've got Smokey Robinson and people like that. You've got Bob Dylan's releasing records. In the UK, you've got The Who's My Generation, and so on. But the big song for the year, for me, has to be I Can't Get No Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones. So I Can't Get No Satisfaction has probably the most famous guitar riff of all time, written of course by Keith Richards. And apparently he wrote it in his sleep and didn't remember doing so. He woke up in the middle of the night, recorded it on his Philips cassette player and went back to sleep. And when he heard it in the morning, there was 2 minutes of acoustic guitar and 40 minutes of snoring. Apparently, why he was sleeping so heavily, who knows? But it was good enough that he took it to the band and they worked on it, and of course it turned into a brilliant song. Interestingly, he just thought this section was actually going to be a horn section. So he was writing a riff which he thought was going to be replaced later by the horn section. And when he came to record it, he used his Maestro fuzz box to create that sound, just to make it sound a bit like horns, and thought it would be replaced. But of course, when the others heard it, they said, no, that's brilliant, we're keeping that in. And the rest is history. Mick Jagger added the lyrics in, and the whole thing comes together brilliantly well. And for me, this is the first song, the first pop song that really starts to talk about modern urban angst, you know, that feeling of dis-ease where even though you're surrounded by technology and you're in the most abundant time in human history, you have that feeling that something's wrong, you're restless, irritable and discontent. And this is the first song that I'm aware of that actually sort of nails that feeling. And the sound of the guitar is a big part of that, is creating that atmosphere. But the lyrics, you know, the lyrics sort of round that out, so the whole thing comes together really well. And I just think for if that's the theme of the song, it's something which seems to have grown ever since. And even though we now have more technology and more stuff and more abundance in the Western world, yet we have more stress and dis-ease and so on. So I think it's really interesting, and a song as relevant today as it ever was. Back then, all Mick had to deal with was a car, a radio, and choosing a brand of cigarettes, whereas now of course we're surrounded by technology. It pervades every area of our life, and our stress levels and so on seem to be equally high. So very interesting, and you know, listening to this song will in some ways help you de-stress from all that. So thank you, Keith, Mick and the boys.